forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews, how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
It's 5 well-known gangs, which are your GDs, your Bloods, your Crips, your Folks, and your Mafia.
After Macon Bibb County hit 50 homicides for the year, some people commented on our story. They asked how the county's homicide rate compared to big cities nationwide. One person asked if Macon was becoming, quote, little Chicago.
And I'm going to give you guys an example. So we're in gang territory right now. I'm going to show you guys what this gang graffiti reads over here. So I've told you guys there's gang neighborhoods in the city. So here's one graffiti here on this building. I'll show you guys. We'll zoom into this building here. So it's like a good car photo too. So on this graffiti here, we have obviously a very explicit. Is there a TV on inside the house?
There is a statistic that you can find that can prove any argument that you want to prove. That where the crime is off the chain, we're one of the most dangerous areas in the country. You can also find statistics for certain areas that we're one of the safest.
With a population of just about 157,000, Macon, Georgia has never been the kind of city that makes national headlines. Located about 85 miles southeast of Atlanta, it's often left off the crime rankings because of its size, or it's either overshadowed by some of the high-profile crimes that occur in the state's capital. On paper, it's a small city, quiet, historic, easygoing, but what the average person doesn't know is behind Macon's modest population lies one of the most consistently violent cities in the state, and based on the numbers, the entire nation. Per capita, Macon has rivaled and at times even surpassed Atlanta's homicide rate, making it one of Georgia's most dangerous places to live, even if y'all never hear about it.
They pulled the numbers from dozens of big city websites that list crime numbers online. They rank them based on homicides per 100,000 people through the first half of the year. Through July 1st, Macon has 37 homicides. That's about 24 per 100,000 people. So, how does that stack up? That would put Macon 5th on the Criminalytics list, behind New Orleans, Baltimore, Birmingham, and St. Louis. Chicago? They're not even in the top 10. That list only covers cities bigger than 200,000 people and those that report their running crime totals online. But based on those numbers, we verified, yes, Macon Bibb's homicide rate is among the nation's highest this year, but not the highest.
In cities all across America, the story is almost exactly the same. Local gangs will rise up only to be swallowed whole by national giants. The Bloods, the Crips, the Gangsta Disciples, the Folk Nation, just to name a few, organizations with history, structure, and reach. And in Macon, Georgia, they would all arrive. The flags were raised, the sets were active, but one crew refused to fold, and they wouldn't switch colors, and they wouldn't follow orders. They would double down. Born in the toughest streets of Macon, the Macon Mafia wouldn't just survive the arrival of national gangs. They would go to war with them. And what would start as a local clique would grow to one of the most strongest and feared in the city. In a town with one of the highest homicide rates per capita in the country, their name and reputation probably echo the loudest in the city.
It's 5 well-known gangs, which are your GDs, your Bloods, your Crips, your Folks, and your Mafia.
Have you worked any other murder cases where Mafia gang members here in Macon have killed rival Crip gang.
Yes, ma'am. In 2010, I worked the death of Don Carl, I believe. October 2010. Cedric Newton, who's a known mafia member, was found guilty for his death, as well as some other shooters.
After that, you also worked the death of the John Johnson.
Yes.
And who was responsible for his death?
So there are blue.
Is he a documented mafia gang?
Yes.
Back in the 90s, Montpelier Avenue used to be a dividing line between two of the most prominent gangs in Macon, the Crips and the Mafia. Wear the wrong color on the wrong side and things could get violent.
You wouldn't wear blue on that side of the street, and you wouldn't say anything derogatory about the people who lived over there because there'd be consequences.
Few street gangs in Georgia's history have left a bloodier trail than the Macon Mafia. Forged in the neglected corners of East and Southwest Macon, the organization would build its reputation through shocking acts of violence. On October 8, 2010, Cedric Newton Jr., also known as Little G, would be convicted by a Bibb County jury for the execution-style murder of Eudandra Duck Hargrove, whom he shot 4 times on that same stretch of Montpelier Avenue that happened to be shown earlier during one of Macon's most notorious turf wars. Then, 3 years later, in July of 2013, a dispute at the Zodiac Lounge would escalate when Andre Bonner, identified as an affiliate of the Macon mob, would open fire outside of the club, killing 17-year-old Jelani Bland and wounding Dion Davis. At trial, prosecutors would label it gang-related violence and convict Bonner of felony murder, malice murder, and gang charges in May of 2015. And in that same year, Bernard Bullard, another suspected member, would be convicted of shooting 18-year-old John Johnson III, another crime that authorities would tie to an ongoing gang feud. And even a decade later, around this same time last year, in July of 2024, the gang's violence would escalate again. Nikos Antoine Vincent, identified by federal prosecutors as a confirmed Macon Mafia member, allegedly would open fire with an AR-style rifle at a Marathon gas station on Napier Avenue, killing Raquavion Smith, an associate, in broad daylight. According to law enforcement, surveillance footage clearly shows Vincent wearing an M4L or a Mafia for Life medallion, with subsequent searches turning up multiple firearms and gang memorabilia at his home. The message, according to federal authorities, was chilling. The Macon Mafia operated without fear of boundaries or mercy, but possibly the most brazen act the gang would be involved in would occur on October 16th, 2023.
Begin this midday with breaking news. Right now, Bibb County deputies are looking for 4 men who escaped from the jail about 9 hours ago. One of those men is an accused murderer. Here's a live look right now at the jail. Not a lot happening right now because, as you can imagine, those deputies are out trying to find those 4 men. Within the past hour, the sheriff's office released some information on the escape. They say the 4 escaped through a damaged day room window and a cut fence. So take a look at this photo. It is the blue Dodge Challenger, the sheriff says, pulled up outside the jail and drove the men away. Be on the lookout for this vehicle. And here are the 4 escapees. Take a good look at your screen right now. They are 52-year-old Joey Fournier. He is accused of killing his girlfriend in the Barrington Hall neighborhood in 2022. You might remember. Mark Carey Anderson, accused of aggravated assault. Jonathan Denard Barnwell is being held for the U.S. Marshal Service. And Chavis Demario Stokes held for firearm possession and drug trafficking. Now, the sheriff's office has notified jail neighbors about this escape. For example, Mount DeSales Academy, about a half-mile, went on lockdown this morning. That's when we first heard about this. Anyone with any information on the 4 inmates can call Macon Regional Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-877-68-CRIME. Again, that number is 1-877-68-CRIME. Well, Bibb County schools are now on lockdown right now as a precaution. School leaders, sent a notification to parents letting even know about the escapees, but also saying instruction continues as normal inside the building. There is no reason to assume schools are at danger, but precautions are being taken to ensure safety, end quote. We're going to stay on top of this. Anthony Montalto is going to have more on this coming up in our later newscast, and you can stay with 13 WMAZ for the latest information on the search for those inmates.
And last month's Bibb County Jail escape, Sheriff David Davis says a gang, the Macon Mafia, likely played a role in the jailbreak.
Well, what was that role and what was their connection to any of the escapees? Anthony Montalto is in studio to explain.
Lori, Frank, we know from federal court documents Jonathan Barnwell was, quote, a leader in the organization, but we don't know how far up the chain he is. But the sheriff says it's likely Barnwell being out of jail helped their bottom line.
We made it our business to get involved into the mafia business.
That business led to 6 arrests of alleged Macon Mafia gang members, 2 of them high-ranking members.
Rico Balcom and Alfonso Clyde. These are very, particularly Alfonso Clyde. He's a very high-ranking member of the Mafia organization.
Clyde is already charged with theft and driving with a suspended license in Bibb County Superior Court. He allegedly stole an SUV last year.
Now he's facing federal charges in connection to his involvement with Mr. Barnwell and then the escape.
Sheriff Davis didn't specify exactly how Clyde helped, but he says the gang aided Barnwell after he got out.
They were in some ways helping him, some ways connected to him. His being out helped to further the Mafia, their business.
Now, from what I can tell, the other 4 didn't have any charges related directly to the escape, at least for now, but 2 of them face other charges right now. Raekwon Parker is charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault and murder, and Xavier Balcom faces drug charges related to purchase, possession, manufacturing, or distribution of marijuana.
In the early morning hours of October 16, 2003, Bibb County officials would be stunned when 4 inmates would escape from the county jail in a meticulously planned breakout that not only was brazen, but very well coordinated, a high-risk act that law enforcement would later describe as being aided and orchestrated by the Macon Mafia, with top-level members suspected of helping execute the plot from both inside and outside of the jail. Now, me, personally, in my life, I never felt the need to be associated with a gang, and that's probably because I grew up in New York in a time when that wasn't it. But thinking back, if you probably would have told me we'd break you out of jail during the recruitment process, I definitely probably would have asked, okay, well, what other benefits do y'all offer? Because amongst those 4 inmates that would flee would be a guy by the name of Marquise Barnwell, an already indicted member of the Macon Mafia's MOBB faction, or Money Over Bitches subset. After escape and allegedly being aided by the gang, he would remain on the run for 27 days, finally being captured on November 12, 2023 in Augusta, Georgia, roughly 130 miles away from the Bibb County Jail. And when authorities would find him, Barnwell didn't seem like he was hiding out. He was in possession of 33.9 grams of crack cocaine, almost 7 grams of powder cocaine, 32 ecstasy pills, and about 5 grams of marijuana. Each package for sale, according to his arrest reports, it would further solidify his role as a distributor within the Macon Mafia organization. Macon, Georgia, a city once known for its musical legacy and Southern heritage, would slowly become synonymous with street-level violence, drug trafficking, and gang culture. And at the center of that transformation would be one of the region's most defiant and locally rooted criminal groups, the Macon Mafia. While cities across America have been overtaken by national franchises like the Bloods, Crips, Gangster Disciples, and Folk Nations, Macon would give rise to a homegrown alternative. Rather than folding or aligning with a lot of these larger groups, the Macon Mafia would go to war with several of them. Based on my research, the organization began as a loose collection of neighborhood cliques in Macon's public housing corridors before evolving into a structured criminal enterprise. According to former Bibb County Sheriff investigator Ron Bird, who has served in the gang unit since 2014, the Mafia is not a group of wannabes, saying, "We have some serious gang members here," affirming the gang's legitimacy and their threat level in law enforcement's eyes. From the outside looking in, it looks as if the Macon Mafia operates through a combination of function-based subsets and regional factions, like the MOBB subset that Barnwell was a part of, for instance. Explained in law enforcement documents as a profit-driven street-level wing tied to drug distribution, firearm offenses, and retaliatory violence, with members like Trayon Portello and Marquise Barnwell having been named in federal conspiracy indictments, showing that the MOBB faction, as one of the enforcement and revenue-generating arms of the larger organization. Now, I could possibly be wrong about this, but geographically, it looks like the Mafia is split into two main factions, the East Side and the West Side. According to investigator Bird, East Macon seems to be split evenly between the gangster disciples and the Mafia, with turf tensions regularly sparking violence, while West Macon seems to be dominated by both the Crips and the Macon Mafia, with former investigator Bird stating plainly West Macon is where you can find more of the Crips as well as the Mafia. Now, I'm not sure if they allied with any of the national groups in any of these two areas, but what I did see is a distinctive rivalry between them and certain sets of the Crips. In neighborhoods like the 4200 block of Mikado Avenue, where residents live between gang-controlled ends of the streets, gunfire is almost expected, with one resident telling reporters, "We don't even duck anymore," after a triple shooting, with most believing that gang activity has overtaken their neighborhoods. And former investigator Bird would confirm what many in law enforcement had already suspected. The Macon Mafia had developed strongholds in certain parts of the town, with these being the neighborhoods where the gang maintains daily visibility, economic control, and social influence, often said to use intimidation and violence, with the organization's deep community roots and intergenerational recruitment making them extremely difficult to dismantle. Now, to my people in Macon, I definitely need y'all to get in the comment box and let me know, is the Mafia still active, and how has they been able to maintain such a strong presence surrounded by national enterprises like the Bloods, Crips, and the Gangster Disciples? If I'm visiting Macon, what parts of town do I need to stay away from to make sure I don't run into the Mafia? Now, y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trail spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below. Y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. Y'all make sure y'all tapping directly with me on Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And until our next jug, you know how we rocking. Shades Popalot. Salute the almighty mob.